was the first movie that I saw in my double feature along with Death of the Unicorn. It's a new horror film called The Woman in the Yard. Hey everyone, welcome to Real Talk with Ryan. Thank you guys for clicking on this video. If you are new to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button. I do reviews like this all the time on the channel, and I would love for you to join the Real Talk family. If you are returning, I appreciate it as well. Also, give the video a like and comment below your thoughts on The Woman in the Yard. Now, this film, it was directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, and he's done a bunch of Liam Neeson films. He's done Run All Night, The Commuter, Non-Stop, Black Adam, Jungle Cruise, and Orphan. And this film, it stars Danielle Deadwyler, Peyton Jackson, and Estella Kahiha. And this is a horror film that basically centralizes on this family in which they are living on a farm, and they have this woman that is sitting on a chair in this black veil, and they are wondering what the heck she is actually doing there. And that's really the big basic premise of this movie. Now, from a positive standpoint from this movie, I can say that I did like the camera work. I think the camera work was done very well. I think there's some very unique shots that really add to some of the atmosphere of this movie. The setting I love. I love a secluded setting, especially in a farm. There's some really good shots within the farm, and you can definitely tell that they're definitely secluded. There's no one else around, and it's a perfect setting for a horror film. But this is a Blumhouse film, and they have had some stinkers lately. They've had films like Imaginary, The Wolfman, Night Swim, so many bad films lately, so I wasn't excited for this film. It wasn't screened for critics, so there was no Rotten Tomatoes score, so that's always a bad sign going into this film. And there wasn't much promotion whatsoever. I think there was one trailer. I saw like a teaser trailer, and then I even forgot there was an actual trailer that was actually released. I never really saw it in the theater, so really I didn't know too much about this other than just the woman sitting outside is really all I really knew. And really, I didn't like this movie whatsoever. I think it's a horrible movie. It is a very tedious and very slow burn kind of film. It's mostly shot during the day. About an hour in, it does switch a little bit to the darkness, and it goes a little bit darker. But we really follow this mother who is grieving a loss of her husband. She has two children. She has a daughter and she has a son. She has some friction with the son. She's always yelling at him for just really stupid things. She's a very just unlikable character throughout this. She just got on my nerves. She was just always yelling at her kids throughout the entirety of this movie, and I just never really liked her. She's not paying the bills. The power's been cut out. There's a scene where they have a dog and they're feeding him potatoes, and the dog throws up, and I was like, man, I really feel sorry for this dog. And just really, this really just focuses on this house for the majority of the movie, in which a lot of the first hour of this movie is really slow and nothing is happening. We get one scene where we actually see the mother go outside and she talks to this woman for like a brief few minutes in the film, but really nothing really comes out of it, at least within that first hour of the film. As far as like jump scares, this has like a few. There's like one scene like during the day, and then there's one other scene that's involved in like an attic, but really there's not a lot of jump scares in this film. This is really focusing on the mental health of this mother and the loss of her husband, and then grief as well. We've seen this done many times in films, and honestly, I just didn't think this film was very interesting. It was just a very slow, sluggish kind of film. Again, I didn't like the main character, the mother here, just really always yelling at her kids, and really not a whole lot going on. And I would say, like, from a perspective with this being a PG-13 movie, I would say that I think a lot of horror fans don't really like PG-13 movies, and I think because of that, this movie, it usually would be marketed to more so like teenagers. And to me, a PG-13 movie, obviously there's not like a lot of blood. In this, there is a little bit that they get away with a little bit. But, you know, it's not like a centralized, gory kind of film that it's trying to go for. Definitely not, and it wouldn't get away with it anyway with a PG-13 rating. But for me, I was thinking, okay, who is this actually for? Because it's a PG-13 movie here. And to me, if I was 13, 14 years old watching this movie, I probably would have walked out of the theater, or probably was talking to my friends in the back row or something. I would have been bored throughout this. There's no scares. There's not like a lot of intrigue with this. Like, you have to really be into the fact of this character having her mental health. And don't get me wrong, there's some metaphors within this film, but the ending of this film is absolutely awful. Even online, you go to read what the ending actually is, because it's kind of confusing, I'm not going to lie. And they can't even really determine the ending either. There's a few different theories, but it's like, I mean, you have to really be invested in the characters. And for me, I wasn't really invested. I don't think like the acting was bad between any of the three characters. But again, the mother is unlikable. I think the son has probably the best acting, probably out of all of them. I thought he was actually an enjoyable character, despite the fact that he has this friction with his mother. I actually did enjoy his character. Now, I will say that from the camera work, I did mention that there is some interesting, unique shots. And I do think when it actually gets dark, we get some really cool shots with the camera and how they kind of flip the camera around. And I did actually enjoy that. I think like that added a little bit of atmosphere to the film. But unfortunately, because it takes about an hour to get this film actually going, it's about 88 minutes. With credits, it's probably about 85 minutes or so. It just takes too long to really get going. And when it really does, I'm not saying there isn't like maybe a cool part or two, but it's just not all that entertaining. I mean, I was just sitting there going, man, like Blumhouse, here we go again. We had Imaginary last year. That took like 60, 70 minutes to get going. And then you had Wolfman, where people didn't really like that. And that was kind of slow and a little bit boring and a little bit basic in plot. So I think Blumhouse here is just really greenlighting anything. I feel like their stories just are really lacking lately. I feel like they have quite a bit of movies that I like in their actual, catalog, but I don't know, lately they're just really missing. They're just greenlighting everything. And to me, this is a very experienced director. And I thought the script here was just real thin, real paper thin, very like basic within like its like messaging and stuff that we've seen in horror films many a time. So like this doesn't separate itself from any other horror film. And that's why I just didn't really enjoy it all that much. And I understand why it wasn't actually screened for critics, because they would have panned this. I mean, there's just not really a lot of meat on the bones here with the movie overall. And to me, I was just really bored throughout this entirety of the film. So I can't give it a good score. Honestly, I would give it a 1 out of 5. It's not worth your time whatsoever. If you do want to watch it at home for free. I mean, I would not invest too much time in this movie. It's not worth your time. There's better movies out there. There's better movies that actually tackle the subject of grief and mental health. And this just isn't that great. And then the fact that the characters, I mean, you're going to hate the mother. I mean, she's just not a likable character whatsoever. And she's just really naggy after a while. And again, like the whole concept with the whole woman out in the yard, I mean, like the first hour, you're just watching her like the entire time. Like nothing is happening. And when she finally makes her move, you're already bored out of your mind at that point, and it's just a little bit too late. And for me, this is just very paper thin story, just not very good overall. Intriguing in like maybe a couple parts, but overall it's just a miss, and I wouldn't watch it again. So let me know in the comments, what did you guys think about The Woman in the Yard? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time.